All right, guys. I don't know what it is, but something is off about these dogs. I'm just like not feeling connected to them. I don't really want to pet them. Something's off. What's wrong with CGI dogs?
If you don't like dogs, you're a bad person. Hey everyone, welcome back to AsArt with Nick, John, and our expert Kyle. Like Nick said, we're talking about CG dogs, how they're working, why they're not, why Nick doesn't like them, and where we think we're going to get with them too.
Yeah.
So
we have a weird history with CGI dogs. It started with Call of the Wild. Me and John were just like, what's up with this thing? And then we watched his Dark Materials and we're like, okay, so these animals look better than the CGI dogs. We're like, okay. And then Cruella came out and we're like, uh-oh, what's going on here? And then now the Clifford trailer just released and I'm like, okay, guys, we need to talk about what's wrong with CGI dogs at this point. It's just like...
Clifford?
I mean, yeah, dogs in particular, though, have
They're
been
tough.
looking a little bit rough.
Yeah, and
Rough,
I think,
silly.
yeah, rough. I think it has to do with the Uncanny Valley because, like, we see humans every day, right? And we know what a human looks like. Hopefully, you know what a human looks like and acts like and stuff. And what do we see after humans? What do we see the most on the internet?
Probably
After humans?
dogs.
Dogs
Cats.
and what? Cats,
Dogs.
right?
Yeah.
Dogs.
Yeah, and it's like we're so used to seeing how dogs act. Even if you don't own a dog, you understand like how dogs act just from
Yeah.
the abundance of videos and movies over the years.
Yeah.
So it's just so easy to tell when a dog is not a dog.
Yeah, no, that's true.
It really is true. Like it's just insane. Like, especially like I get talking dogs. Once the dogs talk, you kind of understand like, okay, this isn't real life. And you know, then it's not as much as an Uncanny Valley because like the dog's talking. So you turn that switch on like, okay, this is fake. But when they try to do real dogs in movies where they're not talking and stuff like that, it just really like something seems off here.
You know, and you brought up a good point earlier too on that point, Nick, is that especially in his Dark Materials. So we had animals, right? CG animals and as pets, like through the demons, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they spoke,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like they had personhood, which I think
Yes.
is a huge thing. Is like whenever we have like a CG dog, it's usually through like a cartoon or animation.
Yeah.
And they have emotive characteristics that are anthropomorphic.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it sort of brings that personhood front and center and like it's much more easy if, you know, for us to relate to them and stuff and it doesn't look as odd. Right.
But I feel like if his Dark Materials didn't have talking demons, I still feel like their dogs would have passed that test. But then again, I'm thinking of like ferrets and other animals and that we're not used to seeing as often. So maybe I'm completely out there.
That's true. Or lions. A lot of CG lions in movies.
And like another thing is like because they're CG, they're typically dealing with like placeholder objects or like perhaps a stand-in, right? And that's the thing is that you know, so much about interacting with another character is the action and reaction to what they do with their little nuances, right? When you're with them. Also like that emotional connection, right? Like if there's a like fluffy puppy like in my lap, that's going to be really cute. I'm going to do certain stuff, right? But you got to be a really good actor to just imagine that, all right, there's a cute cuddly puppy in my lap and I'm going to act like I'm adored by it, right? And
that's why they brought
on
on Harrison Ford for Call of the Wild.
I just imagine for some reason I just think of Harrison Ford in the movie Firewall and just like go immediately to that character, like pack up your shit and get out of here.
Well, the best part was, I don't know if you saw this, Kyle. We did a Call of the Wild, a couple Call of the Wild episodes that are pretty darn funny, but they had a guy in a gimp suit laying next to Harrison Ford at his feet, doing it as a stand-in for the dog. And we're like, I mean, he's full on curled up, like, and he's wearing a gimp suit.
So the Clifford trailer just came out, and I get it. Clifford's a big dog, which really probably does not help with the Uncanny Valley because Clifford's supposed to be a real dog in this movie, right? He's just a giant real dog, and he acts like real dogs. He's not talking, so it just really like pushed to the uncanny. And he's red, like you don't see red dogs too, so it's just like really pushing it to like, is this necessary, or should they have just did like the Peanuts movie, right? The 2D, 3D animated Peanuts movie looked fantastic, right? They kept the the traditional kind of art style, and then we just saw Mitchell versus the Machines, right? And that was beautifully done in its style. And we have the Spider-Man movie. We have so many good animated films coming out now that are stylized. It's like, why not just do a cool stylized 3D movie? Why do live action? Though they might have watched Call of the Wild, and they're like,
everyone,
this is what
get them on the line right now. Yeah.
and then Cruella came out. They're like, hold on, this is.
And just to be clear, we're not ripping on those movies. Nick and I, well, we ripped on it a little bit when we saw the trailer. When we actually saw the movie, we both admitted, like, you know what? It was weird at first, and then after about 15, 20 minutes of looking at this mostly realistic, a little bit Uncanny Valley dog, then we just accept it. Like, this is just the dog.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're not ripping on these movies.
You're right, John. Let's talk about some benefits of having a 3D dog. So the benefits are no dogs were harmed at all in the making, right? Like, if they don't have a dog on set, they don't have to worry about if they step on the dog's tail or crew or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, no dogs, 100%. No one was harmed in the filming of it, right? And then they can get the dog to do exactly what they want, right? If they want the dog to do this or that, they don't have to try to train it and have the trainer off the frame going, yo, woo, 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 like doing all the things they have to do. And the dog's like, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, let's just do the part and we're done, right? And then you can comp it. You can make it fit into the scenes, then afterwards too, obviously if the dog doesn't work in the original shot and you're stuck with that, you're stuck, right? At least if it's a 3D thing, you can change it afterwards. You can make sure the eye line of the dog matches the human actor. There's a lot of stuff you do in post. So like, there's a benefit to doing it. You know what I mean? Like I can see why, especially now with these hero dogs, right? Clifford, it's a hero dog. If you're going to do live action, there's no way you're going to shoot a dog on a green screen and try to get his eyesight right, and then comp it in, it's just like, it'll be like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I think they did that with a dog, right? With Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Cause like, they would comp the kids in with the big dog, or I think they did do something like that. But you know what I mean? Like, that just seems like so complicated and hard compared to doing a CG dog. So there's some benefits.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think there's two for me that I thought about. Was there are two hurdles that would make this all right, which is technology. That's the first hurdle. And then your talent pool, right? Who's actually using the technology to make a captivating character, right? Cause like Clifford's fur, I don't know who did the fur, like for the texturing, like for the textures on it and like just like the dynamics of it. It doesn't look inviting and fluffy. It looks bristly, right? Like that's like a technology issue. Then like talent pools, like with the animators, right? If you've got middling animators, then it's also not going to move with the sort of vivaciousness of a puppy and not endear you to it. But if you have really good animators, then
And I do want to say, very rarely in trailers that are heavily rely on visual effects. In this case, the dog is definitely a huge visual effects task. Trailers, very rarely you're looking at the final shots. I remember like Peter Jackson's King Kong. The first trailer came out, and one of our instructors when I was in grad school, he had gone to work on that, and he had got a hold of someone. So he goes, "Yeah, that's totally an unfinished shot." And then when the final movie came out, all the weird stuff was fixed. In the Call of the Wild, I think the trailer pretty much was on the money for what we ended up seeing. But a lot of times things are still being fleshed out. And when I was over at Hughes, and they decided they wanted to put out a trailer, like it was like almost same day. Hey, you need to finish your shots by the end of the day so we can put it in the trailer. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, like we're supposed to have like a month and a half still. So sometimes it's like you just get the word and you have to put it out. So I don't know if they're still working on the shaders and everything for but.
That's a good point, because there was a sequence in that trailer, the park sequence where he's hitting the human-sized bounty. That looked atrocious. I was beside myself.
But then again, like, we don't even know the budget for this yet. Probably it's probably not even out there for public.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I tried looking it up. I couldn't find the budget.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And one thing we have to keep in mind too is that there's a number of times when studios or game studios or movies or whatever, they did things a few times and like, why do you guys keep trying to do that? It's clearly not working. Sometimes you have to beat your head against a wall before you actually figure out the problem. And I'm sure we can say that, looking at newer attempts at CG, completely CG animals like his doc materials have gotten better.
Yes.
and quicker turnaround in less amount.
But
for less.
Well,
money.
while Nick's doing that, I think you're right, John. It's like if you beat your head against the wall enough times, the blood splatter will eventually be like the Mona Lisa or some shit.
But so like dogs, right? So
chaos theory.
in Call of the Wild, there were wolves and bears and stuff, and I wasn't as thrown off with those animals like I was the dogs. Because like dogs, wolves. I don't know how wolves act. I know there's some type of dog, but I like I don't hang around wolves all day. Like I have no idea they're like. And bears, like I love bears, but I mean I don't study them and see them every day. You know what I mean? Where I would be more fooled by a CG bear than a real bear. You know what I mean? Like I can probably like I can get into that more than just. It's just so tough with dogs. I feel like because we love dogs. Like majority of the planet love dogs, and like. It's so tough. Like it has to be tough because they're so sporadic, and they're so like the way they bark and move, and it's so random. Like you can't predict a dog's movements sometimes, and I think that's what's hard to capture.
You can motion capture dogs and animals, and I'm sure I think it would be smart. Like when we were watching Call of Duty, I think it'd be smart if they did do like massive libraries of just massive movements.
They actually did that. They
so
motion capture
the movement you can definitely try and capture. Getting the exact performance you want, piecing that together is probably hard. But the rendering on it is really hard.
It's
for
tough.
Sure.
I mean, we haven't even knocked out humans yet, so I mean,
man, they've thrown some high end money at those.
I mean, what were some of the ones that the Star Wars movies? It's just like something's up.
Oh, the best I've seen so far is Terminator: Dark Fate. The very beginning when they recreate a young Sarah Connor and a young John Connor. And it looks pretty darn legit. And then they did a younger Arnold Schwarzenegger too. There's not a huge amount of talking and acting, but the non-verbal acting
it's more action too, right? Because they're like sitting down at a table and they're like, oh crap, like stuff hits the wall.
It's another version of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like they sent back another version of Arnold Schwarzenegger and it goes and it kills John Connor at the beginning of Dark Fate, which completely ruined the whole series. You're like, well, I don't watch this movie. Yeah, exactly. But
yeah,
they look legit.
You're right. But like Gollum too, right? Obviously, we know he's not a human character, so we're more open to him being more realistic, and he's not in the Uncanny Valley. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like we believed that performance and we praised it, and we're like, oh, this is a major step for motion capture, even though it's the same technology they use for human stuff. But because
it's a humanoid character, but
so we just kind of like fell into that belief, like, oh, this is I totally believe it. You know what I mean? There wasn't like an Uncanny Valley for us to get over.
No, there's no Uncanny Valley because they turned the corner enough to make him look like, okay, this is kind of a creepy thing, but do you actually feel sorry for it? So it's a different thing.
And I think a great example of that is Pixar. I think one of Pixar's first shorts was like a baby playing with like a drummer man toy. It was like a drummer toy, and that baby looks so bad, like like the way like it was like early 3D. And I think from that point on, they're like, we're not doing realistic humans ever at Pixar kind of thing. And which we saw in Toy Story, we didn't get to see Andy's face. I think we saw like brief Andy's faces, but Andy looked bad. Like he looked so bad in the Toy Story movies, but like they would focus more on the toys because the humans look. I mean, they only had one human boy rig of Andy, and it was used. Andy's party is just tons of Andys. If you go back and watch that, every rig of Andy's party is just another Andy wearing a different color shirt.
Oh my god!
So like they did not care about realistic humans at all.
But that's smart. I mean, why would you give yourself that challenge? I feel like a lot of visual effects studios are like, hey, we're going to do it this time. And I love what they do because eventually they are going to get there. But it's like,
we're going to be the first studio that does it.
I mean, you need to see, like, I hated the movie Terminator Dark Fate. But if you're going to do a timeline where John Connor is killed,
you have to.
You need to show that. And in Tron Legacy, which is, another near success, but still definitely was up. That was back in 2010, I think. You need to see the young version if they're both going to exist at the same time in the universe, Clue and then things like that. So there's times where they need it, but other times, did they need to have a young Grand Moff Tarkin? They need to have a young Princess Leia? They're just like, we want to have this, this little nod.
And what's great about the Clifford movies is they don't have to retcon Clifford because this is technically, right, his first movie again, right?
Again and again, he's always a small puppy, and the next day he's a giant.
Yep. Also, I find it really funny that the promotional graphic novel that's going to be coming out in August in anticipation for this movie has a better Clifford, like a better looking Clifford that like is more like emotive and like, like cute, adorable, Oof. Right? Ouch. I don't know.
Ooh, but that's also, is it 2D or is it drawn realistically?
It's 2D. It's just it's a stylistic graphic novel drawn.
You can get away with the story with that story. It's tough, and I know why they're doing it, to make money off of an IP that people already know. It's not a risk for them at all. They're like, people will be like, oh, I remember reading that book when I was a kid. I'm gonna go watch that movie.
Well, I mean, it seems like they would use the word live action. Aladdin and Lion King, 101 Dalmatians, all those live action, they're making money. So I'm sure other studios are saying, all right, well, if Disney can do it, we can do it too. And they're going to make a lot of money. But I don't know. I mean, clearly they're getting seen. But at the same time, I've had never a single desire to see any of those. And I know a lot of other people.
You know who I wonder is getting money? The ghost of Norman Bridwell. I wonder if he's getting money.
Oh, because he's dead.
He's the creator of Clifford. He wrote the book. But I don't know. Maybe his estate is, Sorry, guys. Continue. That was just random thought.
Well, I mean, his estate approved it.
Oh, they did.
So
okay, cool.
They're like, wait a minute. We made money, tons of money off of 2D animated movies, but let's make a lot of money off of a live action movie. I just like, I've watched Alvin and the Chipmunks. We have a gold mine here.
We've got 2 words for you. Cha-ching.
Cha-ching.
Alvin, Simon, Theodore.
do. All right, guys, so let us know down below if you're looking forward to seeing, kind of like Call of the Wild, ask more CG Dogs, or if you feel like that's a mistake. Do you like the hybrid approaches like they did in the more recent 101 Dalmatians live action movie? Let us know down below. Or do you think they just need to hit their head on a little bit more, and then they're actually going to get the CG Dogs looking perfect eventually? Let us know down below. Check out AsArt.space for the audio and video links for all the types of content we put out. Also, check out Picos with Zero for Kyle's awesome Instagram artwork. And we will see you on the next AsArt.